Okay, so now the next step is what we are going to do is we are going to create a VPN appliance, VPN gateway. Okay, so this creation of VPN gateway, we need to go to the Azure portal. We need to select a VPN gateway. Okay, so now you need to select create, and then you need to select the subscription because I'm going to deploy it in hub, and give the name. I'm going to deploy VPN gateway demo. So location, this is the central US because this is where you are going to deploy all your central US, all your workloads. Okay, now see here, gateway type, select VPN. If you wanted to establish express route, you need to select express route, but mine it is site to site. So I'm going to select VPN. Here you have two types, route based and policy based. This is for the routing. So I'm going to select route based. SKU. So each SKU will have different bandwidth, etc. Okay, so I'm going to select basic because this will be having a higher billing, and for the demo purpose I'm going to choose basic because higher SKU may give higher bandwidth, etc. Okay, under generation I'll keep as it is. Virtual network. Okay, so this is asking which virtual network you want to deploy your VPN. So my virtual network is hub VNet, right? So which I created. So I'll create hub demo VNet. Then it will check whether already I have created a subnet. See, if I selected any other name, right, it won't detect. It will say that you have to create first and then you have to come back here. So since I already created earlier, so it took automatically. Then you no need to okay, then you need to have a public IP address because as I told you, VPN will always work on the public internet. So to communicate from one end to another end of the internet, you should always require public IP address. This is, you have to keep it in your mind. Okay, because this is my hub. Then I have my on-prem also, right here, 192.168.0.0/24. So here also I'm going to create a VPN appliance. So this traffic will go over internet. So anything which is going over the internet should have a public IP address. That is the reason I need to deploy one public IP address here and one public IP address here. I'll call it as P1, P2. So we need two public IP address basically for the VPN deployment. So now where is my, okay, so I'm going to select create new. Okay, automatically it will create. If you have any existing one, you can select existing one, because see, if I select existing one, it will display, but I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to call it as VPN gateway public IP. Okay. Okay. Everything is ready now. I'll just click review and create. Okay. So it will create a VPN gateway in my Azure the moment I create a review and create. Okay. So this process will take 40 minutes. Okay. Now, instead of waiting 40 minutes to create this one, what I did already created VPN gateway. So let me go back to my whiteboard. What I did is I already created a hub subscription. Okay. And inside that I created a VNet. The address space of this VNet is 10.163.0.0/22, I believe. And then I created three subnets. One subnet is for the VM, and another subnet is for the gateway, firewall, and another subnet is for gateway. And in this gateway, I already deployed my VPN appliance. So let's go back to that. So what I'll do, I'll cancel this wizard because we already created. So see, this is the one I have created. Okay, before going to this one, I'll show you the my hub VNet. See, this is the VNet which I already created. Okay, earlier. This is the one I just showed the demo. So if you go inside my earlier VNet, so if you go to the address space, you can see 10.163.0.0/22. This is the IP address range I'm used, and I have the subnets, which is my VM subnet, gateway subnet. Okay, I don't have the VM subnet created here. Let me create a VM subnet here. Okay, hub VM subnet. I'll click OK. So now I have created the subnet for my VM also. Now if I go to my VPN, so this is the VPN I created. So if I open this one, you will see here some things. Okay. So let me show you that. So you will see my public IP address which I assigned to this VPN. Okay. So then you have the locations, etc. It is nothing else. So under configuration, you allow the SKU basics, etc. Connections, we need to go into create a connection. I'll tell you what is connection. Okay. So now what we have done is we created the hub, we created the subnets, etc. Now I'm going to deploy a VM in this. Okay, in this subnet. So let's go to the Azure portal. I'll go to the virtual machines. I think I already created it, I believe. So let me see. This is in which VNet, which subnet. I think I already have it. Oh, sorry, by my bad. Okay, just now I created a subnet, right? I'm going to delete it because I already had it earlier. Okay, so now you can see I have two subnets, gateway and hub subnet. So gateway is for the VPN, hub is for the virtual machine. One more is missing, firewall, right? So I'm going to create Azure firewall subnet. I'll keep the address space as it is and I'll simply click save. Now everything is ready. Now I will go to my Azure portal. Let's open another window. So as I told you, I'm going to deploy the VM in this, right? So since already I have created a VM because to save the time. So I think no, everyone knows, right, how to create a VM. So it's very simple. You need to go to the virtual machines and then you click on Azure, create a virtual machines. Okay. And then you select your subscription. So I'm going to select Azure Hub, then a resource group, give a name, Hub VM demo, then Central US, keep the location. Here, select the operating system, let's say Windows 11, and then put the local admin credential. Okay, so allow public inbound. This is to take the remote. So in a corporate environment, do not allow this one because it will allow you to access from internet. Since this is a demo, I'm keeping it as allow selected ports. So disk, I'm going to select premium SSD. So you can select based on your requirement. And then under networking, you have to be make sure that you will select hub VNet and then hub VM subnet. Okay. So the subnet which is dedicated for the VM. Then it will create a public IP also for this VM because public IP we required to take the remote from my base machine. So network security group, I'm going to create none. Why? Because I have a separate network security group which I already created. So I will show you that as well. Then nothing else, just click on review and create. It will create a VM in your hub subscription. Okay. Before jumping into that, I will just cover the network security group first. Okay. So now, as you know, that we have a hub VNet, right? And we created 3 subnets also. Okay. So 3 subnets. So in order to control the traffic here, we need to apply NSGs and always make sure, always note, you cannot apply NSG to the gateway subnet and firewall subnet. Okay, so that is limitation from Microsoft itself. You can only apply NSG to your other subnets, maybe VM subnets, etc., etc. So to do that, so we need to go to the network security group. So here you need to create a network security group. Okay, it's very simple. You no need to do anything. You just select your subscription and then select your resource group and give some name, demo, whatever it is, and then select the location. So this is the same location where you have your VNet as also. Then just hit on review and create. That's it, simple, as simple as it is. So once you done this, so what you have to do now, you created this subnet, right? Sorry, you created this NSG. Now you need to bind this NSG to one of the subnet. So how you will bind? So to do that, what you have to do, go to the NSG. In this NSG, you have something called subnet, right? So here you need to click on associate. So it will list down all the subnets available. So you need to select the subnets on which you wanted to apply the NSG. So since I already applied NSG on my VM subnet, which is this one. So this is how you will apply NSG on the subnet. The moment you bind, all the traffic will get will go to the NSG. So it will check for the rules. So inbound rule and outbound rules. So this is what I was told earlier. Allow VNet outbound any. So by default, everything, see, allow, carefully read this. Allow VNet outbound. The destination is internet. And rule is allow. It means everything by default to internet is allowed. Okay. So the another rule is allow VNet outbound. It means everything within the virtual network. It means within the subnets it is allowed. Okay. Rest everything is disabled. Denied. Rest means there is nothing left rest, because you already allowing everything to internet and everything to the VNet. Okay. So this is the default rules I was talking about. And then we have a inbound rule, incoming rule. So by default, this is I added, just to forget this for now. So check the inbound rule. Inbound rule, what it is saying, that deny all inbound any to any. By default, you should deny everything. So it is already adding a default rule saying that everything should be by default disabled when it comes to my VM. So inbound rule. Okay. And then on top of it, I have one more rule, which is allow Azure load balancing. So it means anything coming from Azure load balancing should be allowed. Okay. So this you read it, because Azure load balancing is a separate concept. So for the traffic, anything coming from Azure load balancer, it will be allowed. And the third one is allow VNet inbound. It means anything coming within my VNet. It means, for example, this is my VNet, right? Inside that I have 3 subnets. So anything within this should allow. So that means by default it will allow within the VNet, not across the VNet, within the VNet. For example, from your production subnet to non-pod subnet, like that. So it is allowed. By default it is allowed. Okay. So now what I did is I created one more rule, inbound rule, saying that everything should be allowed. Okay, any to any, because I need to take the remote of the VM which is deployed in this subnet. Okay, I can only allow 3389, but as a lazy person, I don't want to juggle around. I just allowed everything so that I can take the remote. So now if you go to my VM, I have a hub VM right here. This is the public IP address. So I will take the remote of this VM. So already I have taken, you can see here, right? So hub VM. So this is my hub VM. So if you check the host name and IP address, see, I have my IP address, which is 10.1.163.0.0.4, and this is the hub VM. Now the next step is we need to create a VPN tunnel between this and my on-premise. So what I have is here, I have on-prem network. The address is 192.168.0.0/24. I have a VM in on-prem, so I'm going to take a remote of that on-prem VM. See, this is my on-prem VM. So ipconfig address is, you can see, right, 10.192.168.0.0.4, and the host name is on-prem. If I ping from here to here, from my, this is the IP address of my VM. If I ping from here to here, it won't work. Why? Because there is no connectivity now. So let's do that. Ping 10.163.0.4 0.4-T. I'm putting a continuous ping. You can see it is not pinging at all. Similarly, from hub, from here, I will ping back to my on-premise. So I'm going to my hub VNet, sorry, hub VM. I'm going to put a continuous ping to 192.168.0.4/T. So both way it is not working. So there is no connectivity. Now we are going to do the magic. We are going to create a VPN tunnel between these two. Okay. So in Azure, we already created a VPN and we have created a public IP address, which is called P1. Here on premise we will check later. So now in Azure, you need to represent your on-premise network. So you need to create something called local network gateway. Local network gateway. So local network gateway, it is nothing but it is representation of your on-premise network. So you need to tell Azure that 192.168.0.0 is my on-premise network. So that information you have to provide. And also I told you, right, you need to have a one public IP address here also, right? This is your VPN IP in the on-prem. So you need to give this information here. So local network gateway is nothing but it will have public IP address of your on-prem and then your address range of your on-prem. So these two details you need to provide it to the Azure so that it can know that these are belongs to on-prem. Similarly, in on-prem also you need to define your public address of your Azure VPN. This is P1. Also the hub range, which is 10.163.0.0/24, sorry, /22. So these two details you need to give in the on-prem also. When you give these two things, right, then it will establish a tunnel. Okay, so let's go and create a local network gateway where we will define our public IP address of my on-prem as well as public address range. So let's get the details. What is the public IP address of my on-prem VPN? So to get that, I'm going to, somebody's pinging. Yes, this is the site-to-site VPN I'm going to create. Okay, because I'm establishing a connectivity between the two sites. So now to create a local network gateway, I need public IP address of my on-prem VPN appliance and the address space of my on-prem. So I'm going to the on-prem location. Okay, I'll open any of the browser and I will select I'll check what is the IP address. What is the public IP address of this machine on which we are going to deploy the VPN. Okay. See, I deployed in West Europe. So I think it is I don't know which language, Dutch or something like that. So this VM sits in West Europe. Okay. So I'm going to check the IP address. Okay, this is my IP address of my on-premise. This is the public IP address. Okay, so I'm going to put it over here. And what is the subnet? Subnet is nothing but, sorry, what is the address space? Address space is nothing but 192.168.0.0/24. So these two details I'm going to provide in my Azure. So I'm going to the local network gateway. I'll create a local network gateway here. So I'll select the subscription. I'll select the region, which is Central US. Name, local network gateway. I'm just giving like this. IP address. This is the IP address of my on-prem, which is 104.46.52.59. And address space. This is address space of my on-premise, so that Azure will get to know that, okay, to reach that I need to go through this public IP address. Okay, so 192.168.0.0/24. For example, if tomorrow you're opening one more branch and you're putting one more IP address and then you have to define that new range here, so that Azure will get to know that the new subnet is also belongs to on-premise. So this is how you will define. So now we'll click review and create. Okay, we'll see what is the error. Okay, resource group I need to select. I'll create. So I'm going to click on create. So now we have created a local network gateway. So earlier what we did, we created a VPN gateway in Azure, and now we created local network gateway. So local network gateway will have on-prem details. Okay, so VPN will have public IP address of Azure. So now let's say if somebody is trying to access on-premise, so this traffic should go to local network gateway. From there it will go to the on-premise, right? So to do this, we need to do the binding between my VPN gateway and local network gateway. Now we are going to create a binding. Okay. So this is I think done. Good. So now the local network gateway is done. So now we'll go to the bindings. Okay. So I'm going to go to the virtual network gateway here. Select your virtual network gateway, which we created earlier. Under that, go to connections. Now you need to click add. Here, give any name. I'm going to give VPN local. Here, connection type site to site. Okay, this is very important because we are establishing the site to site connectivity. Then it will select automatically the VPN gateway. It is already selected. We need to select the local network gateway. So which we just created, right? Which is representing our on-premise. Okay. Shared key. This is very important. We need to give a shared key. I'm going to give ABC123. This is you have to put in your on-premise device also. Then only it will trust. I'll keep IKV2 and I will simply click on OK. Now what we have done, we created a VPN gateway, we created a local network gateway also. Now we created a link between these two so that any traffic from Azure, if it wanted to go to on-premise, should go through the local network gateway and it should reach on-premise. So now we need to create a similar configuration in on-prem also, so that any on-prem traffic, if it's wanted to communicate to Azure, it will go to the VPN appliance within the on-premise and then it will pass into the Azure. So let's see how we are going to do. So to do this configuration, again we need the details of my VPN public IP address and then my Azure address range. Whatever we defined here for on-premise, now we need to define for Azure in the on-premise. We need to define this one. So let's see what is the IP address of my VPN. I'll go to my VPN. I'll copy this IP address. OK. So this is the IP address we need to provide over here. And what is the address range? Address range is nothing but my hub address range, right? 10.163.0.0/22. Okay, so if you are having a spokes, later you need to add the spokes also. I will come to that point once we finish this. Let's understand the concept first. So I'm going to my on-premise network and now I will configure the, see it is not communicating now. So I will configure the VPN. So in Windows Server, there is a inbuilt VPN you can deploy. So I'm going to do that. I'll click next, next, next. Remote access you need to select. Click next, next, next. Direct access routing, you need to select these two. Next, 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 finish. Okay. So this will take another 2 minutes. Okay, I'm going to finish this and I'll go here and I'll click on open and get started to finish my VPN configurations. Okay, sometimes okay, it came here, so I'll select deploy both direct access. Okay, sorry, not this option. So under tools, select remote routing and remote access. Okay, and here you need to select this on-prem and configure and enable routing and remote access. Click next. Here select custom configuration. Click next. Here select VPN dial-up and select all these things. LAN, NAT, LAN. Yeah, select this also. Okay, I think NAT is not required, but anyways, keep it as it is. Click finish. Sorry, here I think. Okay. Yeah, click next. You need to go to the network interface. See, now we are going to define a network interface to send the Azure traffic. Okay, so I'm going to select Azure. Click next. Connect using VPN. So choose this option. Click next. Select the protocol. VPN will have a different protocol. So we are using IKE v2. Click next. Now this is very important. This is the public IP address of my Azure, which is this one, which we have collected right here. This one. Okay, so let's copy that. I'll copy this one and I will enter it over here. I'll remove all other junks. I'll click next. Okay, click next. Here we need to define the address space of my Azure. That is 10.163.0.0.255.255.0.0. Okay. Matrix, you can give any number. Click OK. Click next. Don't give anything over here. Finish. Now we created an interface in our on-premise network to entirely send Azure traffic over this. Now right click this, click on properties, go to options, security, here key. You remember we have given one key right in the local network gate, sorry, in the VPN. So we need to give the same key here, 1, 2, 3. If everything is fine, it will connect immediately. So let's see. Perfect. If you go to my ping, right, see, now we have established the VPN connectivity between our on-premise and cloud. So now I'm going to the hub. I'm going here, which is my hub VM, and I'll try to see the connectivity back to my on-premise. Okay, I'm going to the hub. See here, the connectivity is established. So now both way from on-premise to hub, I can talk in a both direction. So this is how we are defining our VPN to talk to each other. Let's say if tomorrow you're adding one more subnet in on-premise, you need to go to the local gateway and you need to define in the local gateway the same thing. For example, here configuration, right? No, somewhere here in the local network gateway. So here you need to add the new address space which you are defining in your on-premise. Similarly, if you are defining anything in your what do you say Azure, you need to define here in the on-premise. You need to go to this network interface routes we created, right? So here general routes where here you need to add the new routes which is defining your network in the Azure.